The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah!
Go Cowboys! This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Pollard streaks in. Touchdown. Parsons has sacked it. Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Nick Harris, John Machota, and Kyle Yeomans.
It's a Talkin' Tuesday edition of Talkin' Cowboys presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys, as we welcome you into the SWBC studios at the Star in Frisco following a Cowboys 2-0 start to the NFL season with a 30-10 win over the New York Jets. I saw a stat this morning that the Dallas Cowboys, of course, at 2-0, all 6 teams in the NFL last year that started 2-0 made the playoffs. So there you go. Now, there were some 1-1 teams and 0-2 teams that made the playoffs, including the Bengals, who went all the way to win their division and, again, back to a conference title game. So it doesn't always mean and doesn't always translate to success, but off to a great start for the Cowboys. Back here with Nick Harris, John Machota, Isaiah Stanback, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Gentlemen, how we doing? What's up, John?
I'm ready for the playoffs right now.
Oh, you're just fast forward?
I mean, at least fast forward to the San Francisco game.
It's like you're playing Madden. You're playing Dynasty mode.
Yeah.
You just whooped up on the first 2 teams, and now you're trying to sim weeks 3 and 4.
I mean, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have said that. But now when you go 12 wins, I'm ready for the playoffs. Let's see where this thing matches up. Let's go.
We just got back to football season. We were excited about Oxnard. We were excited about training camp.
Oh, I'm excited. But I'm excited to see, is this different?
Yeah. I think
because that's where it'll be. That's where it'll be decided. They win 14, 15 games of regular season. It will be decided there in January.
That's true. That's kind of what it feels like around Cowboys fans right now. It's like it's a cautious optimism of, okay, they look really, really good.
Right.
And it feels different, but we've said it before, and here we are again.
It's just stay healthy, man.
It's like having your heart broken like 100 times, and you just keep coming back ready to go every single year. But we could fast forward to January if it means no injuries, and we can just get there. So I'm with you on that boat, John. Yeah, just get us to January. Let's start January tomorrow, so we have no injuries. We can go to the playoffs fully healthy.
Was there any anxiety as a player in like looking ahead like that, or was it truly a week-to-week game?
Week-to-week.
There wasn't like one point where you looked ahead.
I mean, no. I mean, you really can't in this league. I mean, I guess it's natural to look forward, but you can't look past any teams. I mean, you snap yourself out of it relatively quickly.
Even if you do.
Even if you do. I mean, my first year here in Dallas, we went 13-3. We weren't losing many games, but you still had to look at it at a week-to-week thing. I mean, because ultimately you could be out, or you might not even have a job the following week. I mean, that's just the reality of this league. You know,
it's way different for the players than it is for media.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I say that as a media member. If I was a player, I'm thinking every single game, every single time I can get a chance to even touch the ball, or if I'm on defense, make a play. Like, I'm looking at it as it's going to help me as well as the team to stay in this league longer. So I would, if I was a player, no, I would never look at it that way. I would every chance I get to be out there, like a Deuce Vaughn right now would be fine with them playing 25 games this season, you know. But from the media perspective, I always like to make that clear. I'm talking about myself that I'm ready for it, and that's just because I mean, I started covering the team in 2011. So who's left from then? Tyron?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I'm just saying I've seen a lot of, a
lot of turnover.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of good regular seasons. To me, this season will be judged on what they do in January, so that's why. But I am really looking forward to the San Francisco game a lot.
Isaiah, do the players even know the schedule outside of who they're playing that week? Like, if I mention,
at least I did. I can speak for myself.
They probably know. Okay, Cardinals this week, and then they probably know the Patriots next week because of Zeke. I mean, because you have Zeke on the other side. At least some of the guys do.
You're just not looking that far in advance. I can only speak for myself. I mean, but I really didn't. I mean, you look at the schedule obviously before training camp, and okay, this is gonna be tough, or whatever. You know, I can't wait to play this person, but. And once you get into the season, there's so much information being conveyed. There's so much that you're digesting. I mean, you're literally a computer. You're expected to be a computer. Learn all this information, right? And then as soon as this week is over, push the delete button, clear space so that you can now upload some more for the next team. And that's literally how it operates. So that's why it's funny when Kyle's like, you remember when such and such happened? I'm like, nah. Because I literally, once the week is over, I delete the information. I delete it out of my head. It's gone. I'm on to the next one. Okay, give me more information so I can upload it. I only have so much hard drive space.
Right.
I have it. Boom. I execute it. All right, then it's gone out my head. Okay, next week.
Let me ask you this. Maybe I'm not saying Arizona's a pushover by any means, but you're going into a game against a lot of backups, and Joshua Dobbs, Budda Baker's not going to be out there. Mm-hmm. Would you try to integrate anything new into your game just to see if it works? Like, I got this new release. Let me try it out in the second or third quarter once we kind of built a lead. Would you do any of that?
I mean, I think you do that every game because there's different different personnel on the field, right? So every player is different. You're always trying to figure out, okay, hey, versus this type of personnel versus this type of player, what can I get away with, right? What can I do? Does this work? Okay, no, that doesn't work. Okay, all right, that's not good. All right, let's not put that on film anymore. Or I don't want to expose this too early. Okay. Right, I don't want to Kellen Moore it. I don't want to empty my Christmas bag.
Don't make Kellen Moore into a verb.
Absolutely, I don't want to Kellen Moore. I don't want to empty my Christmas bag too early. Right, I still got some goodies in here. Let's keep it under wraps. If we don't have to unveil it, let's keep it there. I mean, much like Coach McCarthy, what he's doing right now on the offensive side of the ball, he's doing a great job. Week 1, he put Turpin in the backfield. What does that do? Okay, all right, I'm trying some things out. Is he capable of carrying this workload? Can we rely on him? Can we trust him? Also, let's put the league on notice that, hey, we have the ability to do this. The next week, okay, we come back, all right, we're playing against the Jets. Now I'm going to throw the ball to freaking like 8 different people.
8 of them.
You know what I'm saying? And like everybody touches the ball. Everybody's capable. I'm moving guys around. Okay, guess what? Now I have more trust. Now I believe that my guys can do it. Also, the league is on notice. So every week, you're going to continue to expel and expand upon what you're trying to do. But a lot of it is just trial and error. Can I do it? Okay, cool. All right, boom, perfect. All right, that works. Put it in the back. All right, does that work? Okay, yeah, you're capable. Okay, cool. Put it in the back. And then when you really need all of that stuff, you throw it all on the table and you're like, okay, cool. What can I make with this? Mm-hmm. You know, based upon your opponent.
But you're not going to try out new things. Kind of to Nick's question, you're not going to try out new things against Sauce Gardner. You're not going to try out new things against Jalen Ramsey. You're going to do what works because you got to take advantage of all those snaps.
But you don't know what works until you go out there against those guys. I mean, you can see stuff that other guys do against them that you say, okay, that's the weakness of him. But until you go against that person, you don't know what works because they're constantly adjusting as well.
Yeah, they're making their own moves. That's interesting to think about because it's not only from a scheme standpoint, like Isaiah's talking about with Kellen Moore and what he did last year, and you show all this early, but it's a little bit too much, and then you kind of have to make up for it on the back end. It's not just scheme, it's individual plays, and it's individual players having to minute detail every part of their game.
I would say with Sauce specifically, just because you brought up the name, you're not going to see length and size like you see with Sauce on the boundary every single week. So you would almost want to try new things against Sauce because it's like, okay, I'm going to have to do something different here because his arms are Elastigirl over here, you know? But secondly, I don't feel like we're going to see even 70% of what this offense looks like until San Francisco, LA, back to back.
Really?
That's just me thinking because you go into Arizona. Again, a really good opponent, especially in the second level. I like a couple of their guys in the second level, but I don't feel like they're going to have to open up similar to how they've done in the first 2 weeks. You go into New England, you're probably going to have to open up quite a bit there, but then you go into San Francisco with probably like a 50% unscouted look. So that would be ideal. I don't feel like you're going to see a lot until the San Francisco game from this offense.
When I said earlier about just wanting to start the playoffs, I will give you one thing that I am looking forward to as the season unfolds, and it is how teams react to what they're seeing from Mike McCarthy's Cowboys offense, because there is going to be a lot of differences, and I think we've seen some of them already, and it'll be interesting to see as we get later in the season when there is more film on what did they do in these situations, who's lining up where in these situations. It'll be interesting to see what those tendencies maybe are. Maybe those are some things that you can draw off of, but also I was thinking when he said he was, as a player, looking at the schedule, I was just thinking, yeah, if you were a player in this team, I'm sure the first thing that jumped out to you is that December game in Buffalo. Like I just every time I look at the schedule, it just jumps out like, oh man, December. Yeah. Like cool. Buffalo's gonna be on the schedule in Buffalo, but you're like, let's do this in September, October or something. You see it's like late December, yeah.
Every time I think about it, I have to put a hoodie on. Like I'm not looking forward to the weather.
And it's an extra one down here if you need to layer up.
Like here in Dallas, you think about that stuff, but like in my time in New England, like literally it was a warm game in comparison to what we were experiencing in practice in Foxborough. Like we were literally practicing in minus 15, minus 20. It was one of those conditions. It was 0 degrees and it was like 30 miles per hour gusts. That's what the temperature was. And the coach was like, whatever it is outside, we're in it. And we were like, dang. And then like we went to go play
an indoor coach.
Dude, we went to go play in Buffalo and it was like 20 degrees. We were like, oh, this feels awesome out here.
That's so interesting to me too, because I mean, you think about it in two ways. Of one, it's like how do you ever practice in those type of conditions? But also then when you get to the game, it's like the game's nothing, right? I mean,
I'm trying
if
to
you're
think
able
if
to get
anybody
through that.
has anybody won the Super Bowl without having to go through that? I'm trying to think if these Rams did. Like I'm a big proponent of like I think what he's talking about, and I know this isn't going to sound good for the Cowboys, but I think that's ideal.
Yeah.
So those are the conditions to be
you
in,
have to get
to
through
build for winning championships, because I think that at some point you are going to have to go through. But the Rams are the one I'm thinking of right now. They have to play. They're one of the few teams that I can think of, because everyone else, like, you're going to have to go through one of those games. I think of how many times the Patriots had to win tough games. Like, I mean, heck, they had to win tough games at home and weather conditions and stuff like that. But there's just so many games in that Patriots dynasty run that they're not in great weather conditions. They're not in the best.
You could argue maybe Tampa Bay, too.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay didn't necessarily have to go through anything crazy like that. But, I mean, Kansas City, every time New England won it. Philadelphia, New England again. Denver at times, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that could probably be one. Patriots,
I'm just thinking
Seahawks,
January,
Ravens.
late January in Philadelphia would probably be the one here if the Cowboys don't win the division. So that's even more incentive to win the division, because if they do, then they can avoid that.
The Rams had to play at Green Bay on November 28th and at Baltimore on January 2nd. So I assume they got one of those two
with some cold.
A little hoodie or two.
Yeah, a little bit of chilly. Okay, that's interesting to think about. But yeah, the elements play a factor into it. The schedule doesn't necessarily play a factor into it, at least looking ahead for the Cowboys. All right, we did our helmet stickers yesterday. We didn't have John Machota, and we're also revealed a fan vote. But we'll let John go first.
So you guys said you already did.
We had, yesterday we did Mike McCarthy. That was mine.
Right.
Micah Parsons was Nick Harris's.
Okay.
And then Isaiah Stanback said D-Law.
D-Law.
Yeah, those
Big
are
D-Law.
Those are all. So you're leaving me basically with CeeDee Lamb
Defense.
and Brandon Aubrey.
Oh, those are two good ones.
I'll go with Aubrey. None of these really fit Brandon. Man,
I got to give those to you earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, you go 5 for 5 and make one from 55. That looked like it would probably have been good from 70. That's probably a good day at the office there. He's exceeded my expectations already. I guess I just had like a low bar. I didn't know what to expect from Brandon Aubrey, so for him to kick that well, I'm pretty impressed by that. I don't know. I went with a donut last week, so I'm going with a donut again.
There we go.
It's early.
What's the significance?
Because that's how many kicks he's missed.
This 0 kicks missed.
I like that. That's good.
It looks like it's got some green frosting on it. He went to Notre Dame. That's all I got.
Played soccer at Notre Dame.
Yeah, we don't count those. I said kick,
He hasn't missed anything since then. Also just makes me look across the rest of the league and just see how tough it is to find quality kicking. And frankly, the Cowboys didn't make that big of an investment in it when you think of
They didn't
the
miss.
financial.
No.
Yeah. It is funny. I do like hearing the backstories of it's just very clear that kickers are kind of a sore spot with Jerry Jones, and he can be pretty critical of the kickers. And I just think it's funny how he's come out in the last few days and talked about how, like,
We got a kicker.
Yeah, got a kicker. We didn't get in the red zone, or we didn't score touchdowns in the red zone, but hey, that's because we wanted to see what we had from the kicker. And then he even made the joke the other day about how they put that was on Steven's plate. That was for Steven to figure out, hey, and I think Steven said it yesterday on the radio about how, like, oh yeah, no, there's a lot of pressure on the owner for us to find this kicker. And because remember, they went. It's not like this has been their guy since, like, drafted him or something like that. I mean, there was some real uncertainty there about who it was going to be all the way going into training camp. And there were definitely some days at training camp where I don't think that I was like, oh yeah, Aubrey's the guy. And to have that game the other day, I'll give it to him.
That was
I think it
big.
was the moment during training camp whenever they had the mojo moment with Vizcaino was still in the building and Brandon Aubrey, and they won a combined like 1 for 8.
Yeah.
The media was just looking at each other like, oh boy.
That was a Saturday practice. We were live during that practice, and Bill Jones got hit with a football.
And me.
During that practice. Yeah, you didn't catch it, though. So I'm not even
Hey.
I don't think you were
Played
expecting
special
football to
teams.
come in your
Hey,
direction.
look.
We were more worried about the ball when the ball hit you.
You know what? Hit me in the head. That's why.
Ding! Oh, that's it. Brandon Aubrey, though. Yeah, give credit where credit is due. 4th Cowboys rookie kicker to make at least 5 field goals in a game, and the first one since Dan Bailey did it against Washington back in 2011. So that was your first year covering the team, right?
Yeah. Good times.
Yeah.
That was wild, though. I mean, even that year, like, you didn't really know who.
Yeah,
But though the years that followed for a few years there, man, Dan Bailey was like Zach Martin, to where you just took it for granted. You're just like, yeah, no, I know he's kicking. I got to finish writing this tweet or whatever like that. Like, you're not even paying. And then it got to a point where you're like, oh, well, we got to watch these kickers because you just never really know which way it's going to be. And I think that's more of the norm in the NFL than having a guy like Dan Bailey who's so automatic there. I mean, other than Justin Tucker, there's a lot of high highs and low lows in the league. So.
No doubt. If you get lucky and you have one of the maybe 5 guys at a time that are legitimate, I mean, you feel good about the kicker position. Outside of that, you probably don't. One other piece of note or news to note from yesterday: the Cowboys releasing Ronald Jones, the running back. So moving on from Rojo, Nick, is that a bit of a surprise, or is this something that we kind of saw coming?
No, not at all. Especially, once he had his groin injury during training camp, and then I believe it was right after that, or maybe right before that, where he got suspended for those first 2 games. Probably just a gentleman's agreement, like, hey, we'll let you serve your suspension here, and then we're going to release you afterward. But there's still an open practice squad spot. If they wanted to bring him back, it's certainly on the table. They already do have Malik Davis on the practice squad as a running back option, so it'd be a little bit crowded. But it was funny yesterday. I had asked Mike McCarthy, because yesterday was the first day he was able to come back. I'd asked Mike McCarthy, hey, so have you been able to talk to Ronald Jones? And he was very quick about it. He's like, nah, I haven't had a chance to talk to him. We'll see. And then not 20 minutes later, he was released. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, there we go. He must have known something I didn't. But
I'm trying to think if I know Jason Garrett had, but I don't think that Mike McCarthy's ever revealed any breaking news at the podium. So he probably knew. He just didn't want to say it right there.
Especially when it comes to a cut like that, I guarantee he hasn't done that. He might have said something in terms of like a trade or something. No.
Well, the thing with Mike McCarthy, though, is that he's just done this a long time. So a lot of those things he probably had done in the past, just because there are several things that have happened since he's been the Cowboys coach where he's told us, in the past. I mean, he said yesterday about the, some play calls he didn't love. And he was like, I used to sit there and say in the media what they were, and then, obviously people would dive into them and dissect them and stuff like that. So there's little things like that he probably did in Green Bay, maybe early on, and it was like, no, I'm not going to be releasing any of that stuff. And then if I'm wrong or if something changes, then there's video of me saying it at a podium, and that's probably a smart way to go about it.
Yeah, and also in comparison to the rest of the teams in the league, the front office is so involved with the media compared to other front offices. So when it comes to those business transactions, Mike McCarthy doesn't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy, he does not care about us sharing that info. He's like, hey, I got people that can do that. I'm good. We'll talk to him later.
Yeah, well, I don't want to be the source. Don't let me be the source, and he's good about that. He's also been very good about protecting his players and on the podium. He's never going to throw guys under the bus, or at least he's said that. That's a point of emphasis for him.
Because that opens him up to being like, oh, okay, why did you release him? And then he has to get into all the weeds of that. So absolutely.
Yeah, but Ronald Jones out on the open market. Of course, he hits the waivers this week, and we'll see if he ends up back on the Cowboys practice squad. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, give us a call, 888-855-2297. It's a Talkin Tuesday. 817-290-3298 is the text line, but we'll be taking your calls from Cowboys Nation when we come back on a Talkin Tuesday with John Machota, Nick Harris, Isaiah Stanback. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Talkin Cowboys continues in a moment.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Black Rifle Coffee Company serves premium coffee to people who love America. When you drink Black Rifle coffee, you are directly supporting veterans, law enforcement, and first responders in your community. Black Rifle's expert roasters love coffee almost as much as Texas loves football, so it makes sense that America's Coffee partnered with America's team. Go online at blackriflecoffee.com and fuel up with the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. That's blackriflecoffee.com to fuel up today.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys. And now he's on his phone, on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't-stop-banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time, but what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
This segment of Talking Cowboys is brought to you by Quaker Oats, a super trusted superfood. Quaker Oats, the official oatmeal sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Give us a call, 888-855-2297. You can also text us, 817-290-3298. Let's go to our first caller here on a Talkin' Tuesday in Week 3. Brian in Kansas City. You're on Talking Cowboys. How's it going, Brian?
Hey, good morning, fellas. How's it going?
Doing great. What's on your mind?
Well, first of all, I didn't get to talk to anybody on the podcast on Victory Monday, but boy, that was just an unbelievable performance to watch by CeeDee Lamb Sunday, and that was just something.
Yeah, it definitely was, and I mean CeeDee specifically, 100 yards in the first half, and he's looked like that at certain times in his career, but he was dominant and really kind of took over to start things off, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so my question for you guys is I didn't get to see a lot of, offensive line play when you're watching the TV. If you guys developed any opinions at all, we got to see Udoka and TJ Bass in the same game. Kind of give us an idea what you thought about their performance. We saw the one big bust by TJ Bass. Everybody saw that. But, just what you guys thought about their performance and how they did. And I'll hang up and listen. Y'all have a great one.
Appreciate you very much. And Brian in Kansas City starting us off with a bang. What did you think about the offensive line, Isaiah, based on what you saw Sunday night?
I felt like it was serviceable. I think that obviously there's room for improvement, but there's not a lot of consistency there right now, at least at one particular position, the left guard position. So it's kind of hard to expect anything greater than what we've seen. Some of the guys that are getting thrown into the mix, Chuma Udoka obviously did a good job against the Giants in Week 1. He filled in. There's obviously things that you want to see him improve upon, but he's young and inexperienced. And then he goes down. You have to bring in another young and inexperienced guy to replace him. So I think both of those guys, they answered the call. They answered the call. And, for a positional group that relies so much on chemistry, I think that they were effective enough. But I think to expect more of that is maybe unrealistic based upon the opponents that you're going against.
Like, I'm clear with who the top 5 are, and I don't think that there's really any debate. Those guys aren't coming in and all of a sudden making me change my mind. I'd be surprised if that happened, we'll put it that way. So when I look at it from like that perspective, it's these guys blowout win, are getting NFL reps in game, putting out, NFL tape. I'm happy with that. As long as as long as you're not putting my starting quarterback in harm's way, I'm fine with just them getting those reps, because to me those mean so much more than any other reps that they're going to get. And I think that you'll be able to, as a player, learn the most from those in those situations. So just them getting out there, I think, is great. But now if I say that and then they get destroyed and Dak gets hurt, then I retract all my comments.
You didn't say anything. I acceptable job. Those guys that came in at left guard, acceptable. Obviously not exemplary by any means. Tyler Smith is who you want in there. But given the situation, given the defensive front that they had to go up against, Dan Quinn said it, Mike McCarthy said it, Brian Schottenheimer said it. That's one of the best defensive fronts we'll see all season. And for those guys to come in and play 40-plus snaps each and, keep Dak relatively clean, aside from a couple of hits and a couple of roughing the passer calls. But aside from that, acceptable. I'll take that any Sunday.
Yeah, it was enough for us to build confidence in the depth, but I don't like John said. I don't think it has anything to do with what they've done as a whole. Isaiah, since you're on camera here, what would Chuma Edoga have to do to continue to build that confidence? Is it just predicated off of snaps, off of reps? I mean, he dealt with a little bit of an injury. It's not thought to be serious, so hopefully he comes back in the fold. But without Tyler Smith in the fold, do you feel better now that Chuma Edoga's played the way that he has? I'll rephrase the question.
I do. I feel like, to Nick's point, I think these guys have both, Chuma Edoga and TJ Bass, been serviceable. But again, you have to be realistic. What do you truly expect out of guys who have not been in this position before and working in continuity with guys that they haven't had a ton of reps with, aside from just training camp? So I think that what you're seeing out of them is what you can expect out of them. Now, when you get Tyler Smith back, then your expectations adjust, right? Your expectations adjust. You expect to be able to move guys off the ball substantially more. You expect Tyron and Tyler Biadasz to work hand in hand with them to be able to move the entire defensive line 2 yards backwards instead of allowing them to get penetration. So, I just think you have to be realistic about it. I think this is serviceable. I mean, you had 40-plus carries on the ground this most recent game. I think, you kept Dak clean, no interceptions. I mean, he wasn't rushed. He had a pocket. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, they've already exceeded my expectations because I thought for sure when they cut down to 53 that they would try and add a veteran offensive lineman, whether it be through a trade or signing from another team, and that never happened. So obviously they had more confidence in the depth than I did. And so where they're sitting right now, I mean, if Edoga can play and you can give Tyler Smith another week off, I mean, that would be great. But we'll see what ends up happening with that. It's a hyperextended elbow, I guess. But, we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully he's good to go, and that depth does feel much better than it did initially. Let's go to our second caller, Dominic in Denver. You're on Talkin Cowboys. What's on your mind, Dominic?
Hey, guys. I just had 2 quick questions for you. I hope you guys are doing well this morning. First one is, who has been kind of your biggest surprise, positive surprise after 2 games? For me to be Rico. I think he's done a great job in the backfield for us. And second question is, let's go into your crystal ball. Let's suppose we're competing for, home field advantage late in the season. What's the one position you think they're going to want to grab to kind of shore something up? Of course, injuries notwithstanding, we don't know what's going to happen. So those are the 2 questions. Thanks for doing the show. You guys are great.
Thank you very much, Dominic, for the call. As always, Nick, we'll start with you. What do you think about the first question, and then we'll move on to the crystal ball?
Yeah, we talked about it in the first segment, Brandon Aubrey. For us to be sitting here after week 2 talking about, he's reliable, that's wild to think about coming into the season. 7 for 7 on field goals, only the first missed PAT, and we've kind of heard the background and context of what went into that. That would be my biggest pleasant surprise. If I had to look anywhere else, I would say, I would say Leighton Vander Esch in a sense of his versatility. Dan Quinn has really gotten him involved in a lot of different areas, moving him off the edge, putting him right above the center and having him go at the quarterback. Coming downhill in the run game was what really impressed me from Sunday from Leighton. So I would say certain aspects of Leighton's game have pleasantly surprised me, and then Brandon Aubrey as a whole.
Okay. John?
Yeah, it's still Marquise Bell for me, same as it was after week 1. I guess it all comes down to what your expectations were going into the season. And you see flashes during training camp and the preseason, but it's I'm pretty sure he's leading the team in tackles right now. I just didn't expect that. I mean, I thought Jabril Cox would make the roster, and clearly they felt really comfortable with Marquise Bell and some of the other depth that they have there. They can move on from there. So if I'm going back to the start of training camp till right now, man, Aubrey's a good one, but for me, it's Marquise Bell for sure.
Yeah. Osa?
Mm-hmm. Biggest surprise?
Biggest surprise for me. I didn't expect him to be as disruptive as he's been. I think that going into the season, I was like, okay, Osa, he's a good.
Like he's going to be good, but you didn't really expect him. I didn't expect him to be a mauler like he has been.
I think right now, if you're playing Madden, you have to put some kind of emblem underneath his name. something. I don't know what it is, but something. Yeah, he needs something underneath his name, and I think there's probably 11 of those down there on the defense side of the ball. But he deserves that right now because he is truly impacting the game. He's not just a guy. He's not somebody that's just fulfilling a role and just does their job. Like, he's disrupting the offenses right now, and that's huge for this defense.
Yeah, he and Micah have combined to be that forefront force. I mean, it's either one of those two guys in the backfield at almost every play.
Yeah, it's not the name that you would have came up with, right? I mean, everybody was talking about the defensive ends. You're talking about the Sam Williamses of the world. You're talking about the D. Laws. You're talking Fowlers. You know, you weren't talking about Osa. You weren't talking about Osa.
He always looked good. Yeah, he wasn't the forefront.
Not as a disruptor. No. That is somebody that was actually getting in the backfield and causing some issues for them. So that's my pick.
Every game day, I have an article that goes out right as the clock hits 0. It's called 5 Takes, and basically just giving 5 takes based off the game. And one of mine from Sunday was Osa Odigizua could be the second best pass rusher on this team. He very well could be. Look at his pass rush rating through the first 2 weeks. Look at the competition that he's been able to go up against, and in comparison to what that competition has done against their other teams that they've played, and how much he's getting into the backfield. 3 sacks already. I'm very interested to see what he kind of follows up with as the season goes on. But DeMarcus Lawrence, obviously really good as well. I think he's better in the run game. We saw that on Sunday. But Osa, man, he's really added to his pass rush game. It's those boxing skills. You can see it being translated.
Throw them hands.
Yeah. What about the crystal ball? Where would Dallas go get somebody, John, if they were going to make a move and they wanted to make a deep run? Where would they go get somebody else if they made a trade outside?
Yeah, so for me, this isn't close. It's really depth on the offensive line.
Yeah.
And that's just like, hey, you're getting close to the playoffs. You need a veteran guy to come in and be a swing tech. Heck, with going off of what the offensive line health has been since Mike McCarthy has been head coach, I could see them potentially having to do that because of a starting position. I mean, you hope that doesn't happen, but there's just been so many injury issues on the offensive line the last few years that it just – man, I look at that defense and I'm like, there's nothing over there that I even consider. So, yeah, for me, it's the offensive line.
What do you think?
I'm right there with you.
I think I'm the same way.
For sure.
O-line, up front, depth up there.
I guess if you wanted to add another position, if either Trayvon Diggs or Stephon Gilmore went down, I'd be a little bit concerned about who would fill in on the boundary, but you also have Nahshon Wright coming back in a couple weeks, so that's an option. But a veteran presence in that room wouldn't be bad, but offensive line is by far number one.
I'm not saying this is anywhere close to offensive line, but another position could potentially be wide receiver. And the only reason I say that is if you have injury issues there, do you have the next depth piece to step up there? You might, and maybe that develops over, the next month or so like that. But that is one position, kind of going back to the T.Y. Hilton thing last year, where if it comes close to the playoffs, you know that there's quality players out there that you could potentially add, that veteran experience type players, that maybe another spot. But again, it's not even anywhere close to where offensive line is, and it really speaks to the depth of this roster. I mean, clearly the best roster since I've covered the team. And when I think of the offensive line depth, the next thing is just so far down the list, it's not even close.
I'm right there with you. I think if you're going to still point at one spot, it's still that offensive line. The other things would have to take movement, would have to take a certain event for it to be a necessity. Right now, offensive line depth to me is still a necessity. Has it ever been shored up? Probably not. I think there's 32 teams in the NFL right now that could say that their offensive line depth probably could use a bit of an uptick.
I'll say what helps, though, is that, there was a lot of talk in the offseason about, West Coast offense getting the ball out quick. To actually see how quick they're getting the ball out, that does help with my thoughts on the offensive line a little bit.
Yeah. Jeremy from Woodbridge, he said, did you gentlemen know that the Dallas defense has combined for more sacks and turnovers than total points allowed?
Wow, that is true.
That's pretty impressive, and it's probably not really close. I mean, what is it, 7 takeaways?
I think it's 17-10.
Wow.
Yeah, 7 takeaways, 10 sacks.
So 17 and then 10 points allowed. So, yeah. His question was, how long do you think that streak can continue?
Past Arizona.
At least.
We can go another week.
We can go one more at least.
They should have put up a field goal, get 3, probably.
I can't see it. I can't see it making out of that Niners game, though.
No, I don't think it goes that far.
That would be really tough to do. I mean, that does surprise me, that stat, don't get me wrong, but I think the thing that surprises me more than that is if you just list who's scored touchdowns for this team this year and who hasn't through 2 games, I think would really surprise. I mean, for CeeDee Lamb to play as well as he has and I have a touchdown yet,
0 receiver touchdowns.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It's pretty wild. Now, the 215. Oh, this is Dan from Philly. He says Adoga and Martin both had to leave the game for a short period of time on Sunday. Hopefully, Tyler Smith will be good to go this week. But can TJ Bass play the right side if Martin is banged up in a pinch? Do you think, based off of what you've seen, you'd be comfortable putting Bass on the right side?
Yeah, because left guard was actually unnatural in comparison to what he's been working on all training camp. He's been at right guard all of training camp through OTAs, all of that. That's where they've been working him primarily. So it would be a little bit more natural to plug him in there. But Zach Martin's going to play on Sunday if I were a betting man.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too.
Yeah.
I think it was in and out and just a quick thing, and then he was ready to go.
He'll probably miss practice a couple days and be limited, and everybody will be wondering, but he'll be on there on Sunday.
Dak, or this is a Dak question from the 845. Dak looks more comfortable in the pocket. Do you feel like Kellen Moore was trying to turn Dak into a pocket passer rather than allowing him to flow naturally into his game? What do you think about that one, Isaiah?
It's just a faster offense.
It's just different.
It's just totally different. All right, I said it all the way going back to Oxnard. The West Coast just allows for you to get up to the ball, make quick decisions, and get the ball out your hand. It negates the pass rush. It negates the ability for people to be able to get sacks on Dak. It gives him more confidence, in terms of where he's going with his decision making, in terms of his receivers knowing where they're going. It just cleans up everything. And that's the reason why you're able to get 80 plays in.
Yep.
I mean, it's literally that is it. So as a quarterback, I don't have to worry about getting sacked. I don't have to worry about being confused, and I get to throw high precision passes. I have no reason nothing but confidence that is exuding off of me because of the system that's in place.
I think the epitome of what this offense was the 1st and 12 from their own 3 late in the first quarter, and they come out quick slant to CeeDee Lamb, and he goes off for 31 yards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just came out. That's what they were going to do. It was a quick throw. You saw Dak's improved footwork on that play as well, and being able to shovel it out that quick. That's the epitome of what this offense is.
Yeah, he looks comfortable, but my response to that is similar to Dak's response the other day about the interceptions. Like, I'm just not going to be one of those people that acts like, this offense was just terrible under Kellen Moore. And the longer we get into the season and the more success that they have on offense, I just feel like you're going to hear more of that from people, like talking about this was needed and whatever like that. Like, yeah, shaking some things up was needed, but I'm not going to be that guy that acts like it was just so bad before, just kind of how people act like, yeah, we got to get these interceptions cleaned up. It's been such an issue for Dak Prescott. It was an issue for 1 year, but to act like all of a sudden it was just like, it's always been so bad. How can it, like, I don't know. I just get this sense sometimes that people think that Kellen was like working against Dak or something. Like he wasn't trying to make the best offense to fit him. Like that's what you're doing in the NFL.
That's what it's
you're
about.
Trying to, and especially on a team that has a franchise quarterback, one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league who's paid accordingly like that. That's what it's about. Like you're not going to sit there and go, yeah, I know he makes a lot of money, but this is the offense I would like to run. Like you're not going to do that, or if you do, you're not going to be in the league very long. So it's 2 games and everything. Yeah. Dak looks very comfortable, but I'm not going to sit here and act like, man, Dak just looked so uncomfortable last year. Like he didn't even know what he was doing because he had the 15 interceptions. Like because that's not the way I saw it at least.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I think it's well said because it's not all.
I'm telling you, it'll get worse too.
If
they keep winning and he's not turning the ball over, the way some people will look at these last couple of years will just be like, oh, just Dak was ready to be a superstar and carry this thing all the way to the Super Bowl, but Kellen was just holding them back, and I don't have time for that.
It'll really crank up if they beat the Chargers.
The Chargers are already 0-2, so
they won't need to get to that.
It'll
put up a bunch of points against the Niners.
You know what's funny?
I'm telling you, if they put up a bunch against points against the Niners, just watch it.
Yep.
You need to hit up ESPN, Kyle.
Why?
Because Brandon Aubrey is one of the few players that doesn't have a profile picture.
I'll hit him up. I got you.
He doesn't even have a profile picture.
I don't think he has an official headshot yet.
He has some of the highest fantasy points for kickers.
Are you playing fantasy right now?
I'm just looking at him.
He's trying to help his roster.
Okay. I mean, Tuesday during the show.
I just picked him up, man.
It's
talking about Brandon Aubrey.
Nice. It's waiver Tuesday.
Brandon Aubrey, yeah. Get your waiver wire picks in, everybody.
Why would I not pick up Brandon Aubrey right now? I'm just saying.
Who are you dropping?
Huh? Carlson.
Okay.
Wow.
Carlson has me 10 points, and Brandon Aubrey has 28
so
points.
So when we come back, we're gonna dive into Isaiah's fantasy league opportunities and see what's on the waiver wire. No, when we come back, we are going to take more phone calls. We've got Maurice in Tacoma on the line. Give us a call, 888-855-2297. Talkin Tuesday continues after this.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Are you ready to take coffee off your grocery list forever? Black Rifle Coffee Club is here to help. As a coffee club member, you'll get your favorite coffees roasted, packaged, and shipped to your door free of charge on your preferred schedule. Set it, forget it, and never run low on coffee again. Members also get exclusive deals on coffee, products, and discounts from partner brands. Ease your mind and let Black Rifle worry about your coffee supply. Go to blackriflecoffee.com to join the coffee club today.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, presented by Invisalign, the official smile of the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go to Maurice in Tacoma, Washington, up in the Pacific Northwest.
Town.
What up, Maurice?
What's going on, fellas? Tag Town, how we doing, Seattle? I see you over there, my guy.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Hey, just real quick, fellas. I'm not hearing enough about what's going on with Michael Gallup. Like, the production there is just not visible. I'm not seeing it. I don't get to see the whole field. So you guys do. Is he drawing double teams? Is he helping Lamb being able to get open? Or maybe we should be thinking about using him as some trade bait and maybe get somebody that could be a little bit more productive, because I'm still not sold on Tober. So let me know what you think about that, fellas. It's easy.
Thank you very much for the call, Maurice. There was one text message. I won't say the name of who said it, but it says, "Is Michael Gallup missing? I just bought milk and didn't see him on the carton." Yeah, that was kind of the thought process around Michael Gallup. He hasn't been productive. Jalen Tolbert, I thought, did a nice job on Sunday. I'm not going to discredit Jalen Tolbert, but are we looking at a change at wide receiver 3 right now?
No, I wouldn't go that far yet, but it has been too many times when we've sat there on Mondays after the game and the offensive play caller has talked about how, yeah, we got to get Gallup and more involved. We got to get Gallup more involved. And then you don't see it happening. So I thought this game would be the perfect time. But I think him being lined up, excuse me, on the other side, and it's tough to argue with CD's looks. Like, how many times did they go to CD where you were like, man, they're forcing it? Like, if they're going to leave him open, Michael Gallup, he's got great ability, but he's not CD Lamb. And so I don't know, but it's a great question, because it's been a while now since we've seen him look like the old Michael Gallup. And so I don't know if it's just that they're not looking his way as much as they need to, but I have a sense that in this Arizona game, they're going to try and feed him a little bit more than maybe they have, just to try and get him going a little bit. But yeah, through these first 2 games, I just thought we'd see more impact than we have. But with Tolbert, I mean, I just think he's young. Like, you got to give him his reps and try and, develop him. And like you said, on that series, 3 catches, more than he had all of last season combined every game. So I think he's trending in the right direction. But the Gallup thing, I think, has to be a little bit of a concern.
I'm not concerned yet with Michael Gallup, yet being the key word there. Let's look at these first 2 games. First game, rain played a huge factor, jumped out to a big lead, didn't really have to get involved in the pass game. You could look at CD Lamb. He didn't even get crazy production in game 1. Game 2, he's lined up against Sauce Gardner the entire game, mostly. and basically using him to get CD on the other side, get CD open, get him double-digit receptions. And I'm very curious to see what you're about to say with a smile on your face, Isaiah, but I'm not concerned yet about Michael Gallup. If we're here this time next week and the production is still the same, then we have a different conversation.
I see a concerned look.
Kyle's a jerk.
What did I do?
You didn't ask this question, so I can't say you're a jerk. But what did I tell you when camp first started?
You told me that you were concerned about Michael Gallup.
When camp first started. Yeah. When I first got to Oxnard and I watched the first couple of practices,
I gave him credit. I said, just wait on it. Just wait on it. It's the same thing I'll say now. Just wait a little bit.
I hope.
But I think the concern
now
with
than you were then?
I'm the same.
Okay.
His day of reckoning is closing in.
My expectations are what they've been, and it's unfortunate. I really like MG. I really like MG, but unfortunately, he's not the same guy since the injury, and I hate to say that because I like him a lot. But like I said on day one of training camp, and I watched the individuals and I watched the one-on-ones, I said it's not there anymore. From my perspective, I can't. As a grown man, he can decide on what he's able to do. I can't put that on him. But from what I see, from my eyes, it's the MG of the past is no longer there, and that sucks. And that unfortunately, that does thing. Injuries have that effect on guys, whether it's the physical or the mental or both. I've been that guy. I've been through it. I know the mental aspect of it. It's hard to overcome the mental more so than it is the physical. I'm not sure which one is having an effect on him right now, but what the production we've seen is a production that I expected based upon what I saw at camp.
It's tough to hear because I do like Michael Gallup, and I remember you telling me that initially, and I still think you got to give him some time.
Oh, he can still catch the ball now.
Get some time.
He can still catch the ball. His problem is his agility.
Yeah,
the agility, I believe, has taken a substantial hit because of his injury. He can still run straight. He can still catch the ball, catch the crap out of the ball. Contested catches, he's the best. He's still the best on his team at contested catches. I believe that wholeheartedly. It's a matter of, can you get off the ball? Can you get in and out of your breaks without giving away tips to the defensive back that you're about to come out of your break, that you're about to change directions? I don't know that he possesses that ability the way he once did.
It's also disappointing just because, he's paid to be like your number 2 receiver, but he doesn't have to be the 2 here. He could be like your 4th or 5th option on the offense. And if that's the case, you would think if it's the old Michael Gallup, like, oh, there's going to be some games where, maybe he does perform like his first 2, but then there's going to be some where he absolutely eats because he's just taking advantage of, the coverage in that. But, I don't know. The first 2 games are a little disheartening, but hey, there's a long season to go. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, just 2 receptions for 13 yards for Michael Gallup. Let's go from Michael Gallup to Michael in Savannah, Georgia, our final caller today. Mike, you're on Talkin Cowboys.
Yes, first-time caller, long-time Cowboy fan. I'm very impressed with the defense and the offense that's been played for the first 2 games. But my question is, do you think on the offensive side, do you think the play calling is making a difference in this year season?
Well, thank you very much for the call, Michael. Appreciate you listening. First-time caller. Great question overall. Do you think the play calling has made an impact so far in the first 2 games?
No question. I think it's made a big impact on them taking care of the football. I think it's made a big impact in just, obviously Dak being comfortable in it and them, the running game hasn't gotten off to where I think it can go. But I think that comes with it the more that they kind of are in this offense. But, yeah, I think it's a factor, and I think that it's going to be pretty beneficial because you have a very seasoned play caller, and there's a lot of things that he's going to be able to do that opponents just aren't going to know. They're not going to expect from the Cowboys because they haven't necessarily seen it. There's things you can look back on in his Packers past that probably, give you a little bit of an indication. But I just think there's so much still there that is kind of new that from week to week, it's going to be tough for teams to really know exactly what they're going to do. But there's definitely been, a bunch of plays where guys are wide open. There's multiple plays on Sunday where CD was wide open that I'm just like, how did they even scheme this up to get him this wide open? Everybody knows that he's going to throw to CD Lamb or wants to throw to CD Lamb. So, yeah, I think it's helped for sure. But, again, I'm just not going to sit there and act like they didn't have a good offense in the past.
I would say compared to last year, it's much more closed in, much more phone booth type offense in the sense that things happen quick and they're happening right off the snap. I mean, we saw it last week with the big CeeDee Lamb gain. It was Jake Ferguson coming in quick and being kind of like a pick route, quote unquote, and leaving CeeDee Lamb wide open. But overall, the offense, it's quick and it's designed for Dak to get the ball out quick. That alone has made an impact on this offense.
Do you think they ever got too cute on Sunday in the red zone with some of their run plays?
I think overall they've gotten a little too cute with using Turpin in the red zone, but
What about Peyton Hendershot?
I think so. I mean, look, you had Hunter Lipke on the other side, and he's a natural ball carrier.
This is what I wanted.
Hunter Lipke, Stan. There it is. There's our one Hunter Lipke reference today.
It's gonna happen.
I wanted to try and steer it down that road.
Got it.
So.
You baited me, and I just
got it. What do you think, Isaiah? Play calling uptick.
It's different. I mean, it's just different. Kellen Moore is one heck of an offensive coordinator. I mean, let's not. I mean, look at the stats. I mean, look at the stats. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It's just substantially different.
Yeah,
it's a more complex offense with Kellen Moore's scheme, and that's not to say that one is better than the other. It's just more complex. There's a lot more that goes into it. The routes are deeper. The protection is greater. The demands, the time that it takes for guys to get down the field is more. Like it's higher risk. It's a higher risk offense, but it's a bigger payoff in terms of big plays.
Yeah.
So higher risk, high reward. I mean, it is what it is. And then all of a sudden you come to Mike McCarthy and it's more consistent. It's like what I said at the beginning of the year. It's going to be boring. It's supposed to be boring. It's supposed to be a lot of plays. Keep away, run the ball, get 4 yards per carry, 3-4 yards per carry, and then play action. Ta-da! That's your big play.
Yeah.
And all right, move the chains. Let's do it again.
The excitement comes from the defense.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big part of it too. They're doing stuff that is shorter, simpler, getting the ball out.
Yeah.
But with this, the entire time, the way this defense has ascended over the last few years, it would be foolish not to play into the fact of like, hey, let's put them in the best possible situation.
Mm-hmm.
This thing over here is what we could look back on a year from now and being like, man, that helped us get to the Super Bowl because they're on that dominant of a level. Let's not mess that up with anything. Whereas to Isaiah's point, let's not act like there was not times here where the offense needed to be a little bit more explosive because you didn't have that on the other side of the ball. So, sorry.
No, you're good. I want to ask Isaiah. Play action was really good last year. Do you feel like it's even more effective?
I can't say that yet. I think that you're more dependent on the play action this year. I'll say that. I don't think the running game is anywhere.
You were pretty dependent on it last year, too.
You are, but, I mean, you're going to be more dependent on the run this year than you have been.
Mm-hmm.
I think in recent years, Kellen Moore, that was a passing offense. This is a running offense. You just are missing your starting guard.
Yeah.
So you can't do the things that you truly want to do. You haven't had that opportunity yet through these first two games. So you're making it work, right? You're still being successful, but this is not how he wants to play ball right now.
Yeah. You're missing your starting guard and you're missing your second wide receiver outside too. At least last week you were, because Brandon Cooks, Tyler Smith both out. Hopefully they're able to make a return. Looks like Donovan Wilson could make a push to play this week as well. We'll have plenty more updates tomorrow when the Cowboys are back on the practice field. We'll also preview the Dallas defensive preview tomorrow against the Arizona Cardinals. We'll have a bit of a scouting report to look at for the Arizona Cardinals, what they bring to the table in Week 3, but that's going to do it for us here on a Talkin Tuesday edition. Special thanks to all those that texted in, gave us some great phone calls today. We'll do it again on Tuesday.
Hey, real quick, congrats to J. Lou.
Yeah, J. Lou made
his way back on the field. Congrats to him. I don't want to overlook that by any means. That took a lot for him to overcome that injury. That was a serious injury.
Yes, it was.
All right, it wasn't. I mean, Nick Chubbs and respect and prayers up for him. People see those things and they're like, oh my gosh, and it is very much so. Attention should be paid to that and prayers up to him. But what J. Lou had to overcome is insurmountable for most people. So kudos to him. Kudos to the entire training staff for getting him back on the field.
Yeah, that's awesome. And he's going to be even better this week. Played limited snaps in Week 2. Going to hopefully see an uptick. By the way, I forgot to do it, but the smelly sticker from the fans is Tyler Biotish. Tyler Biotish got that smelly sticker taken care of. There you go. Yep, right there on the helmet. Nice job.
He just recovers fumbles.
Yeah.
He's
downfield.
He just Johnny Hustle. Johnny
league leader in NFL fumble recoveries, right?
as going into Monday night.
Going into Monday Night Football. So there you go. So Tyler Biadasz will give you a smelly sticker on here. We'll make sure it's ready to go.
Great hustle play.
They need to.
Yeah.
They're going to need to fumble in the end zone so we can land on it and get rewarded with a touchdown.
That would be sweet.
Yeah. We're going to Biadasz touchdown. Oh, man.
We've had a Terrence Steele touchdown before. It could happen. All right. That does it for us here on Talking Cowboys. We'll see you tomorrow. For Chris Beam, Isaiah Stanback, John Machota, Nick Harris, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the Star in Frisco. We'll see you tomorrow with more Talking Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!